Alright, look what we got coming today. This is the bumper, front bumper for the F250 that we're putting together. Just showed up today. Trucker couldn't make it down our driveway, so I just took the flatbed trailer down. It's all there. It's heavy. 225 pounds, I believe. So we're not going to open it up. I'm just going to stick it in the shop so it's safe, secure, doesn't get damaged, and we will open it up once we get closer to putting it on. Still got a few more things we got to do, so stay tuned.
So, been doing good progress on the truck. We're working on putting the header panel on, the headlights, getting everything fitted in place, and mounting the oil cooler, making sure it all clears. I do have to do some trimming on the header panel to make sure there's no rubbing. But so far it's coming together really well. We did have some slight change of plans. I was planning on putting a separate fan just to cool the oil cooler. But just due to clearance issues, it's just not going to fit nicely. It'd be just too tight with that thick heavy-duty oil cooler that I installed. So the new plan is to wire my temperature switch to where it triggers the Ford fan to kick on if the oil temperatures get too high. And then I can get to the switch fairly easy. I'm going to mount it probably as the oil line comes out of the oil cooler itself. And that will give us good access to everything. And then I could adjust the temperature switch depending on how everything works. Yeah, it's coming together. We got this truck. It didn't have the front header panel, headlights, or anything, so we had to source all that.
First startup.
Pleasantly surprised that everything seems to be running good. Pull it out of the shop here in a little bit and drive around the property. See how everything's working.
Hi, Jenna. Hi, Mom, I don't have a seatbelt. Right?
Thank you.
So we got our oil filter mounting bracket installed. So all our oil cooler lines are final. You can see the lower one going into the oil cooler, and this upper one is the outlet to the oil cooler, returns back to the engine. So as it comes out of the oil cooler, I have a temperature switch before it goes back to the engine. The way I have my temperature switch wired is I have the black wire going to a close ground, as you can see in the picture here, and the red wire goes back and ties into the blue wire coming off my electric clutch fan from the
Okay,
factory.
so I went ahead and wrapped it with insulation around it, because what I found was going down the highway, the air running by it would displace the temperature of the sensor, so it would actually not be as effective. So I'm hoping this insulation, I might have to put some around this too, will help stabilize the temperature consistency of the switch. Well, we'll give it to. Alright, so this is just about the finished video. Wanted to do some adjusting. Ended up changing out the thermostat here. I had a 190 degree thermostat, or switch, I'm sorry, temperature switch, and it was kicking on too soon. On the highway it was great, it'd kick on 208, kick off about 200. Drive around town, it was kicking on like a 192. It was just too much for the fan. There's no reason for it to be like that. So I went to a hotter temp switch. It's supposed to kick on at 210. It's been too cold here for it to even, the oil temperature never gets up that high. Engine temperature, it runs right now with we're in the 50s to 60s degree temperature during the day. We took a long road trip and the oil temperature never got above 202. But it usually sticks right around 194, along with the coolant, and the fan never kicks on. So summertime we'll be able to test it. I just had to do some tweaking. This fitting was leaking a little bit, and let's see if I can get in there. This fitting was leaking, so just a little bit, just enough, but I didn't want any kind of leaks, so I went ahead and tightened those up, checked everything, got it up to temperature, cleaned it all up. So you can kind of see this finished project. So
Here you can see the AMS oil filter, remote oil filter mount that I installed. Again, this is the dual filter setup, so it's got the built-in full flow filter and the bypass filter mounted. And I used a bracket I got from a gentleman on eBay. I like it. It's really heavy duty, mounts to existing holes, and protects it from rocks and such. I'm able to route the oil lines up above the frame rail, so they're not in any way going to get damaged, and it's easy access. This is actually on the driver's side. Already done one oil change on this, and it was exceptionally easy. I really liked the way it worked out. Just limited too much on space to use my original design of mounting inside the frame rail.
from the remote filter setup through this hose to the bottom of my oil cooler. This is a stack plate oil cooler. Comes all the way out, and the exit right here comes out. I got 290s to make a U. Goes through. This is my temperature sensor, so I'm reading the temperature of the oil coming out of the cooler, so that's most accurate. Some use it on the manifold, but I don't have the way it's set up, there's just not enough clearance to get a good temperature switch in there. So it comes out of here, goes back in, and it connects to my engine. This is the look of the engine. You can see it's nice and clean. You can barely see the hoses. You gotta get up in there. There's the return hose over there. There's my Mishimoto pipes. And then the other hose is down in there. This here is a metal screen. You can see I actually got two of these. And this is going to mount, I just painted it today so it's still a little soft. It's going to mount right in front. I'm going to do it on both sides, so it'll have rock and bug protection. I had it on there, and just as a test fit, and everything worked good, but it does need to be painted, so that's what I went ahead and did today. Yeah, you can see my brackets nice and clean. I did have to notch out the radiator grill support right here and on the top here, just so there's no rubbing. I didn't want anything rubbing. Hoses are nice and clear. There's no rubbing down there. I ended up putting a new condenser on there. Been driving, I put probably 1,000 miles on it already. Had my max assist out here doing the high idle on it as I'm currently working, so I just let it idle in my driveway at about 1,200, 1,300 RPMs. Yeah, that's it. I'll try to get some pictures or video of the oil cooler or oil filter mount so you guys can see that. I think she's been running really good. I did have some stiction issues since it's gotten cold. Stiction showed up. I did not replace the injectors. Just wanted to see how they were. Warm weather, not one single problem. Started getting into freezing temps at night here, and sure enough, I'm getting some stiction on there. Cold starts. So, plan is to, I just put in, ended up being 3 bottles of Rev X. Normally you do 2 bottles, but this oil capacity is quite a bit more, and based on Rev X's recommendations, I went with 3 bottles. Ran it for about 30 minutes today, about 12 to 1,500 RPMs, and then drove around the property, get up there 2,500 RPMs. We'll do that a couple days here and see if that helps the stiction issue. Hopefully it does, otherwise I'll be looking at replacing injectors, because I don't want to deal with it. My daughter's actually, she was learning how to drive. She got a driver's permit. She's been driving the wife's Escalade, and I took her out in this and let her drive, and she loves it. She likes the way it feels better than the Escalade. She likes the way it sits, the way it drives. So this might end up being her truck. At least I know she'll be safe in it. Alright, stay tuned. Once I get the metal grating on, we'll finish up the video, and this truck will be done. We'll do a good walk around to show everything we did. Did install a radio. I want to install a backup camera, and I need to fix the dash light. So we got a few little nods and ends here, but so far it's been good. Like I said, we put 1,000 miles on it. Love riding in it. Things got so much more pep and zip. I mean, just better throttle response and everything than my Excursion. So I'm looking forward to going through my Excursion and getting it up to par. All right, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Okay, here I got my metal mesh screen. I painted black. Installed. See, so it's got to go through my range hand grill and then through that before it can do any damage. Now, just got to
Okay, so hoping this is my issue. My truck is blowing black smoke, excessive black smoke, especially off idle, accelerating from a stop, even if I feather it. Didn't have any engine codes. Thought it might have had a tune in it, which it may still would have had. But what I ended up doing, just to eliminate that possibility, again, there was no codes registering on my scan tool or check engine light. So I went ahead and reflashed the Ford Pcm with their latest software version for this particular truck. It's a 2007 F250 6-liter Powerstroke 4x4. After I reflashed it, took it for a test drive. At first it didn't seem to smoke as much, but shortly thereafter it continued to smoke, and that same trip I ended up getting a check engine light. So checked the code, and sure enough, EGR circuit A, voltage low or something like that. I had cleaned this just last month thinking it was okay, but I think what I'm seeing now is, if you can see that light between the bottom plate, it should be closed right now, so we shouldn't see light. And then can't hardly see, yeah, you can see might be able to see a little bit of light there on the second valve as well. So thinking this was my problem all along. And you can look at this one, it's nice and sealed. This is a new one I'm going to replace with it right now. Easy replacement. I'm hoping this fixes it. It'll be a sweet, quick fix. So, and then the Powerstroke 6.0 project will be finished.
All right. So good news. The EGR valve replacement fixed my smoking problem, and what I also didn't mention earlier in the video was that also had some issues with the turbo not building boost at the low RPM, which ended up being that EGR valve was just letting all the air by, so I wasn't able to build the pressure. So good news, the EGR valve fixed both those issues, black smoke and low boost on off idle.
Okay, we are done. Just got some new tires put on it. These came out pretty dang nice. We got the decals out the side. Buffed out the paint, polished it, waxed it. Which turned out pretty dang good.
I want to thank all military members, veterans, and their family members for keeping this great land safe. Also want to thank all our police officers and their families for keeping us safe as well. Thank you, and be safe out there.